Good morning, Facebook family. I hope that you are doing well on this Monday morning. And thank you for joining me on the Good Morning Show with Candy Bryan. Today is a very special day where we get to honor some of the heroes that have fallen right here in the Central Florida community. The Good Morning Show is your place of faith in the morning, and we want to start each day out with a word of encouragement, with hope. We want to be your place of faith in the morning. And today we are hoping to spread some knowledge. We know that knowledge is power. And today on the Good Morning Show, we'll be talking about something that changed the course of history here in Central Florida. And I want to say good morning to some folks that are going to join us. So good morning to you. If you are watching via Facebook or YouTube. If you're on Facebook, go to StreamYard.com/Facebook. Again, that's StreamYard.com/Facebook, and you will be able to post your comments here. I wanted to do We Remember Monday as a day to get us ready to also welcome my guest tomorrow, Senator Randolph Bracy. And today we'll be talking a little bit more in depth about the Ocoee Massacre. It's kind of hard to believe that I live probably, 25, 30 minutes down the road from Ocoee, Florida. So if you are tuning in this morning, let me know where you're tuning in from. I'd love to know what state you are coming from, and we want to say good morning to you. But I hope that you will be enlightened and learn something today as I'm learning on this journey. I think we're all learning and we're all expanding in knowledge. Good morning, Nancy. Thank you for tuning in this morning. We're going to give everyone a few seconds to join us. It is We Remember Monday, and we're going to be remembering the town of Ocoee, Florida, its descendants, and learning a little bit about what some of our local leaders are doing today. What they're doing today. This happened in 1920, and we have legislators, we have leaders in our community today that are taking a stand, and hopefully bringing reparations and justice for those who were lost. Thank you for tuning in this morning to the Good Morning Show. All right. Good morning. I'm so grateful that you are waking up with me this morning. And who do we have on? Oh, we have Raleigh is in the house. Good morning, Nancy. Good morning. Thank you so much for tuning in. Love the fact that you are always supporting, Nancy. You are always there. It's such a delight to know that we've got friends all over the country, right? I think we have someone else tuning in from North Carolina. That's right, Terry. I think I need to connect you and Nancy. Shanae is tuning in from Sanford, Florida, right up the road. Good morning, Ronald Jones. Ronald, where are you tuning in from? You are with us every single morning. It is such a delight to see names that we're all familiar with. And hopefully you all will thoroughly get something out of today's broadcast. So I started doing some research, and I have been coming across articles. You can scroll Facebook. I was going to say you can go Google information, but you can scroll on Facebook nowadays and just come across articles. People are bringing awareness. People are sharing just information all over the place about our history, the not so great things about our history. And I am really looking forward to this discussion tomorrow with Senator Randolph Bracy. He will be a guest on the Good Morning Show. We're so grateful to have him. Senator Bracy has been fighting for the city of Ocoee. And so we salute you, sir, and we thank you for taking time out of your day tomorrow to be with us. So I pulled together some video and some articles, and I really am hoping that, for every time that I've shared this, someone has said, oh my goodness, I didn't know about this. And I think it's very interesting that a lot of us didn't. So this show is out of Central Florida. We're in the Orlando area. And I don't even know how I stumbled on this article that I'll share with you here as I bring up my screen. But there was an article and then a video and then a documentary that I came across. And it's the story of Election Day. The year was 1920 in Ocoee, Florida. So November 2nd was known as one of the bloodiest days in American history. I know that there have been several other horrific events that have happened since this time in our country's history that have been just as deadly. But this is the little known incident that has now gained significant attention thanks to the leaders in our community like Senator Randolph Bracy. So I'm going to read a little bit of this article here that you see on the screen. And thank you to the Zinn Project. I put them in the credits. You can go to zinnproject.org and learn a little bit about this story. So for those of you who are tuning in, many of you actually were from the Orlando area and you might have moved out, or you were from other areas and you moved in and then you moved out. We have a community that has a lot of people moving in and out. We're a tourist community here in Central Florida. So there's a lot of people that come in and leave the state, and very few of us who have come and gone or even still live here know this story. So I'm going to read a little bit. So sorry if I'm not looking right at the camera, but I want to get some of these facts right. So what I want you to know this morning is that Senator Randolph Bracy has successfully put into legislation a bill that will formally recognize the city of Ocoee. And now this history has to be taught in schools throughout Florida. And so it's a tremendous step in the right direction. I read another article about Senator Bracy that stated he is now pushing for reparations for the descendants of this community. And what you see here on the screen is a gentleman who fought with his life, July Perry, and he was a leader in the township of Ocoee. And we'll go through the story here briefly. Let me pull up some of the most interesting facts. So the most brutal massacre, one of the most brutal massacres in American history happened in Ocoee, Florida, November 2nd, 1920. It's called the Ocoee Massacre. And basically we had people in the town of Ocoee, Florida, heading to the polls to vote, and they were turned away. July Perry was a leader in the community, and he was leading the charge, and people in the community respected him and they trusted him. I think down here he was called the godfather of the community. So he was the man that everyone looked to, and he was a brave leader. But on the day before the election, the Klan went through the town threatening people, Black people, that if they tried to come out and vote, it would not go well for them. And that in this article, it says they were walking through the town with megaphones saying not a single Negro will be permitted to vote. That's here in the article. So election day came. Black people attempted to go to vote at the polls, and they were all turned away one by one. And then one of the people that was killed was July Perry. He was respected in the community. He had a wife, he had children. And I'm gonna share with you a little bit of this. I think it's a 2-minute video. I'm gonna share with you a quick video from 2 filmmakers, Sandra Crasa and Bianca White, and I hope I said that right, it might be Crasa, and Bianca White did a documentary. This is just a 2-minute clip of the documentary. And it tells a little bit of the story. Why don't we watch it together here briefly and learn a little bit about the legacy of Election Day, the Election Day massacre in Ocoee.
Sam said he knocked on the door, and July said, "Who's there?" And he said, "It's me, July." He says, "Yes, boss. Come out here, July. I want to talk to you." And he said, "Well, just a minute, boss. Let me get my hat."
Her father had one rifle, if you would, shotgun, and he gave her one and said that, Caritha, we're going to have some problems tonight.
So July came out of the house, and Grandpa and Boyd Wilson were on the front porch with July. And he explained to July that he was going to have to arrest him for what happened at the O's earlier that day. And July said to my grandfather, "It's cold. I want to get my coat." My grandfather didn't feel that if he got back in the house, he'd ever get him out again. So he grabbed him around the neck, and that's when Perry's daughter, 19-year-old daughter, Corita, took the rifle on my grandfather's stomach, and my grandfather reached down and got knocked out of the way, and it went off. Now, I don't know whether it went off from her pulling the trigger or from him knocking it or what, but it went in his hand and it came out of his elbow.
She wasn't in a position to do any shooting herself at that point in time because he was really more so concerned about her mother and the other children.
When Grandpa got shot, then everybody started shooting.
Bullets were flying through the house, and she said so many of you see the tracers of each bullet passing through. He was inside of his home shooting out of a window back at these men that were shooting at him.
The shooting took off for about 10 minutes, and then it quit. And when it got through, 6 white guys were injured. 2 white guys were killed. Mr. Perry was seriously wounded. Corita was wounded.
After her father was wounded, he told her that she needed to take her mother and the other children and get them out of the house to safety, and that he would not be coming with them. And she said she recalled asking Papa, "We don't want to leave you," and he said, "You have to."
They all took off out a trap door out the back where the two dead white guys were and headed for the cane fields.
And she said she recalls praying and said, "Lord, you got to help us get out of here." And she said she looked at the back door, and there was a cat hole there where the cat could come in and out of the house. And she said upon looking through the cat hole, she looked through a cornfield and saw a path of light beaming from the moon, but it shined a path of light that gave them a route to take to escape out of the house.
Sam said he knocked on the door, and
so I was so entrenched in this video, and it was a 2-minute clip, and obviously I want to give credits to the filmmakers. Thank you to Sandra Presa and Bianca White for doing this documentary. You can check them out and order or pay for the video to see the entire video. And I had a call. Sorry about that. I had a video call coming through there. So I truly am grateful for those who highlighted this. It's a massacre. You just don't want to say the word. I'm thankful to those in our community who, and Sandra is actually local. Thankful to those in the community that are fighting for the city of Ocoee to be officially recognized and taught, for this history to be taught. And I want to go to some of you. Good morning. Thank you for tuning into the Good Morning Show. This was a 2-minute clip from the documentary film Ocoee, Legacy of the Election Day Massacre. And I have the credits there on the screen. So this is Mr. July, the leader in the city of Ocoee, who the people looked up to, who paid with his life when the Klan came down and gunned him down in his home. And what was really intriguing about this piece of the documentary is that we were hearing from, I think he said, grandpa or a great-grandson of one of the men who was involved in the shooting. And so this is our history. We talk about history and we feel like it should be so far away, but this was in 1920. And it's when we hear the story and we see their pictures and we hear what happened, it kind of makes it very real, very current, very relevant. So I want to turn over to you guys and get some thoughts from you this morning. Did you know about the Ocoee massacre? Is this the first time you're hearing of it? What else have you been learning? Have you been gaining knowledge? Have you been equipping yourself with knowledge and information that will help you to help everyone bring about change? Let's go to our viewers here and want to say some good mornings. Good morning, Sandra. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. And I appreciate you guys watching this, learning some history, and hopefully we'll all walk away better. Tomorrow, my guest is Senator Randolph Bracy. He's been fighting for legislation and actually was victorious in getting legislation passed that will officially recognize the Ocoee Massacre of 1920 and also it's mandatory for schools now to talk about and educate children. We all have had our feelings about what's taught, what history is taught, what history is not taught in our country. And I'm sure we all have very different opinions about, the accuracy of what's been taught. But I'm grateful to leaders like Senator Bracy seen here. And this is a wonderful article written about his victory here passing the legislation. And the most interesting thing is that it doesn't fight. The fight does not stop there. He's pushing for reparations for those family members and the descendants. You have to think in this town, when I was reading through the Zind Project article, basically the entire town of Ocoee, all of the Black people in that town were run out. This is an area in Florida where you can drive down Highway 50 and you're driving through Ocoee. And I don't know how many times I drove through that city, never even knowing the bloodshed that took place. At least 50 to 60 people were killed in the Ocoee Massacre when finally the mobs of Klan marched through the streets. There was a shootout. They started running people off of the property and out of the city to completely, basically it was an ethnic cleansing of Ocoee. And I think it has taken 60 years or more for Black people, Black and brown people, to even go back and consider living in the city. And that was just recently. So this was a part of our history. And I want to hear from you guys. What are some of your comments today? Let's go to Sandra. Sandra says, I've learned more about Black history in 2020 than I've ever learned in my 44 years of life. Sandra, your thoughts and your feelings are definitely being felt here on the broadcast. Let's show some comments from some other people who are watching. It's absolutely true. I've never learned so much. And a lot of this is things that I'm stumbling on as I'm scrolling through Facebook. Some of it is just the information is out there and people are making it readily available. And lawmakers are standing up and saying, no, we need justice. We need to justify this. We need to make this right for the descendants of the people that were impacted, the families that were impacted, just to know that the whole town of Ocoee was, every Black person was either run out or shot down. Their businesses burned to the ground. It's mind blowing that happened just down the road. And I've driven through the streets of where blood has been shed. Lo says, never heard of this before, but it's crazy. She's going to check out the documentary. Yes, absolutely. And this helps us to. I'll just say this, if you're like me, a lot of us live in a bubble. If you can give me a hand raise or, yes, that's me, a lot of us live in this bubble where we're living off of the freedoms and the privilege of those who came before us. And so many times we just don't know what has happened, what came before us. How did people pay with their lives? Let's go to a few more comments this morning. And actually, I want to highlight another very interesting podcast that I came across. And this one is actually Senator Bracy's podcast. And I'm going to see if I can pull up the clip here. He has a podcast called The Culture. And I was really intrigued by it. I actually, I'm going to get the audio for you guys. I started listening to this podcast. And so hopefully, Senator Bracy, you'll allow me to go into a few other questions about this recent episode where he actually, hopefully it'll play here in a second, but he actually is highlighting this awful law that currently a person can be charged for murder. And in the podcast, you'll hear from a gentleman who was charged with murder, and he did not commit the murder, but because someone was murdered when he was arrested, he was charged with the murder. I was blown away when I heard about this. So let's see if we can get this video to play for you guys, and then we'll wrap up the broadcast here.
This past legislative session, I filed a bill revising the felony murder rule. After filing this bill, I've heard from so many people around the state telling me that their loved ones are incarcerated because of this one law. Listen to Adnan Khan, an activist, explain the felony murder rule.
So the felony murder rule. How many of you guys knew about the felony murder rule? Leave a comment, raise a hand, say, yes, I did. And if you know what it is, leave us a comment. Tell us what you know about it. What I learned about it was mind-blowing. And so we are so grateful to legislators like Senator Bracy for bringing these things to light. I love the podcast. It's called The Culture. It can be found on, I believe, iTunes or wherever podcasts are played. So we'll definitely have Senator Bracy discuss this law and how he's been making progress with changing it. We've been talking a lot during our town halls this entire month. On our town halls, we've had amazing leaders in the community come on and talk about what they're doing to make change happen. We've been talking about police reform. We've been talking about just social injustice and reform in general. And we can see from corporations to our government to local businesses, people around us at the very micro level who are changing the way that they do things. If you hadn't heard, the Florida Gators chant, the Gator bait chant, was even taken out of the school. They're not going to do that anymore. And I hope that they don't reverse that. I hope that they stick with that, that it was had roots in racism, because Black children were said to be used as gator bait back in the early days here in Florida. So many things are coming to light. There are quite a few businesses that have gotten behind wanting to see change happen. So before we go, I want to hear from you. Has your company allowed time for dialogue? Your corporation, what have they done to at least let the dialogue begin? Have they done anything for the Black and brown employees that you and I work with? You and I are some of them. What has your company actually done? Or if you're tuning in from another state, what do you see in local government from your leadership, from your senators, from your congressmen and women that are out there fighting? Have you seen any changes? Have you seen any movement towards reform? I'd love to hear from you this morning as well, because I know we have some folks tuning in from the Carolinas. So what is happening out there in the Carolinas as well? Well, I really hope that you all will tune in tomorrow. Senator Bracy will be my guest. We'll have a great conversation about the progress that he's making. Don't forget to tune into his podcast. And I think it's just going to be a really powerful time that we have to grow in knowledge and to get behind change, to get behind people in the community that are impacting change. And even if you don't have the title today, you don't have the political position, you have the power. You have the power to help impact change. I want to talk a little bit about lastly, we have a voter registration drive that is coming up here very soon. So I'm going to go back and post that on my profile page. And it's so important that we're all registered to vote. One thing that I learned, Thank you to Monique Borrell. She's running for state attorney. And I've been educated. So I had registered last time during election time as an independent. And depending on which leaders really support my values and where I want to place my vote, I would actually have to change my affiliation to be able to vote for them. And so a lot of people don't know that if you're an independent or if you're Republican or Democrat and you really believe in the platform of someone who's in a different party, you actually have to go and change your affiliation before you vote. So it's the little things like that, that making the vote is the first thing, but making that vote count and making it stick is a whole nother. We definitely need to be educated on some of the rules and policies with that when it comes to voting and making sure that we make our vote count. Terry Bird, thanks for chiming in. Where the question is, what things are you seeing taking place in your city, your state, your company that you work for, where change is starting to happen? People are starting to have the conversation about social injustice and racism. What has been happening in your area? And Terry says, Confederate statues have been removed. Wow. Yes, NASCAR no longer allowing the Confederate flag to be displayed. And we saw where one of their drivers, Bubba, is that his name? I don't follow NASCAR, so I don't know his last name. But there was believed to be a noose found hanging in his car garage for a NASCAR car garage, and the FBI was investigating, and everyone was involved in it. But for NASCAR to say that we're no longer going to fly the Confederate flag, thank you, NASCAR. Kudos to you for stepping up. A lot of us can probably say, oh, well, that's not enough. It doesn't mean anything. It's one small step that really, sometimes a small seed can grow into a great and mighty tree. So I believe that every bit counts. Oh, thanks, Terry. Oh, you guys are going to be in for a treat tomorrow. Senator Bracey is just going to fill us with so much more knowledge. And so I'm really thankful to have him. Really grateful to have him. And it's great to have great hair. Thanks, Rich. It was a little heavy in here, so we needed a good smile, a good laugh this morning. I really appreciate the hair compliment. It's kind of doing its thing this morning. What else? Last call for what has been transformed in your city, in your state, in your family. Are you having discussions about racism and social injustice, even in your household? What is that sounding like? Has there been moments where people in your family are kind of saying, I didn't even realize that either I turned a deaf ear to it or I'm not a part of the solution, I'm a part of the problem. I've had racist thoughts. What are some of the conversations that you're having with family and coworkers and people in the community? And even more than that, what's been happening at the local, state, and the levels around your city? Good morning, Ree. Good morning. What's happening up north? And I want to say, you're not in Delaware, Ree. Where are you tuning in from, Ree? Let us know. All right. I want to see if there was any more articles that I pulled together. I think we covered just about everything. And again, if you want to take a look at that documentary, I'm going to post it here really quick before we go. The documentary about the Ocoee massacre can be found on Amazon. You can order it on Amazon, the entire thing, but you can see the clip on YouTube. It's called Ocoee, Legacy of the Election Day Massacre. And, I will be honest with you. We've heard many people say that if what we don't learn from history, we're bound to repeat it again. And it's just so relevant right now. This documentary in particular, I reached out to the filmmaker. She did this in 2008, and here it is, 2020, and legislation has just been passed to formally recognize the events that happened during the Ocoee massacre, and also now, hopefully, future reparations for the descendants. If you know anyone who might have been a descendant of someone that was killed in the massacre, or the family was displaced, or impacted, let me know. Let me know. There's a way that you can contact me. If you could go to candybryan.com, you can subscribe, but also you can send an email through my website. If you have someone that you think has a great story to tell, that has a powerful story that will impact and change lives here on the Good Morning Show, I would love for you to email me, send me their contact information, and have them email me as well that they have something to share and would like to be a guest on the show. All right, so this week, we're going to kick it off tomorrow with Senator Randolph Bracey. He's going to be coming to talk about the legislation that has been passed for the Ocoee Massacre, but also this week, we are going to be shifting on July 1st. July 1st, we have a whole new series that we are going to introduce because it is time that we not only talk about change and solutions, but we talk about healing. Because one of our favorite guests on the show is therapist Shelly Fan, and she talks a lot about trauma. And we talk very little about trauma in our country and in our circles and our families. But we do need to talk about healing from the trauma of what we've all experienced, from the pandemic to all of the video that we are seeing of police brutality and social injustice. How does that impact us emotionally? Even though we, maybe we feel fine and we're just going through our day, we're still impacted, and many of us traumatized from what we've been seeing. All right, so a couple last comments. Thank you guys. I know I had to kind of talk a little bit to give people time to type because you guys are so thorough. I love these comments. Terry says she's received text messages from many of her white friends saying, I didn't understand, what can I do? Amazing dialogues. I've been seeing a lot of pictures and graphics and posts where there are ways to listen if you're not Black or brown and you have been dismissive of what you hear your Black and brown friends saying for so many years. There's a lot of awakening. And there she is. Oh, Shelly, we just called your name out. You guys got to go check out Shelly tomorrow, Tuesday, for Ask Shelly. And Shelly, this next month of July, we're going to be talking about healing and trauma. And please contact me after the show because I have a lot to share with you, Shelly, and we'd love for our viewers to reach out to you, especially for those of us who need therapy right now. We need to talk to someone. We don't even know what and I've heard it called the trauma brain, right, Shelly? We don't even know the trauma that exists. PTSD is very real. And so there are talented therapists like Shelly Fan. She must have heard me call her name because I said it just now. And thank you for tuning in and for chiming in, Shelly. So we really hope that July will bring healing. The title for our July series is called How Music Can Heal. And we'll be having amazing worship leaders, pastors, people in the gospel music industry come on the show, not only talking about the social injustice and police brutality and things that we've been seeing, but we're going to also have moments on the show where we let the music play, where we let worship go out and be broadcast. And I'm praying that it would bring great healing to you. But also along with that, it helps to meet with someone who's professional, who understands the impact of trauma and PTSD. And so I recommend highly that you would reach out to Shelly Fan. She's on Facebook and has a show every Tuesday at 12 noon, Ask Shelly. So thank you, Shelly, for chiming in right on time. She's always right on time. We love you, Shelly. That's awesome. Please contact me after the show because we have to talk. All right, you guys. Well, I hope that this has been enlightening. I am telling you, it's shifted me. It has shifted me reading about the events of the past, the things that have happened in the early 1900s. Getting this knowledge has really shifted my brain. Thanks, Anissa. July's Good Morning Show, GMS. We are GMS. We're not GMA. We are GMS. Topic, how music can heal. You guys are going to be so blessed. I don't know if you guys remember, one last thing I'll leave you with. The other day, I think it was Thursday or Friday, because I played the video of the baby who was dancing. And I played it a couple times over and over because she just has taken the Instagram by storm. Entertainment Tonight posted her video. She's just shaking her little, 1-year-old body and really just brought a lot of joy to people. So Entertainment Tonight posted her on Instagram. Well, through wonderful connections on Facebook, I was able to reach out to the parents, and we'll have the father. He is actually a choreographer and a dancer and in the music industry, and he will be a guest on the show coming up this next series. So, all right, you guys, let us go. We love you, Shelly. Thank you for loving the show. We love you right back. Terry, oh, wow. She said, this was great. Thank you, Candy. I just visited 3 plantations this weekend. It was impactful. Terry, we have to talk. We have to talk. And Terry is also, we got to talk, Terry, right? Because she's also a powerful singer, worshiper. So I don't know, Terry. We might have to, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but we may have to have you on the show. I'm just saying. All right, you guys. Hey, tell me if you like this new promo banner. I'm going to bring it up real quick, and then I'm coming right back. But tell me if you guys like this. This is the new promo banner. Did you guys like that? I mean, it looks kind of good. I think it looks pretty good. I made it. I created it, so I guess I should love it. But that's the new logo for the Good Morning Show. And I'm really thankful to you guys. Thank you for watching the show. Please go out and share it. More importantly, hit share today, but tell someone to tune in tomorrow. My guest is Senator Randolph Gracie. He's with the 11th District here in Florida. I believe that's Orange County. And it's going to be a powerful talk. Also, go check out his podcast, The Culture. Until tomorrow, you guys, we have a lot to talk about. The Good Morning Show is your place of faith in the morning. Can't wait to see you tomorrow, friends. 7:45 a.m. Eastern. Love you guys.